Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Live with Mel. A French court on Monday issued a 3-year prison sentence to former president. Now, the former president of France, President Nicolas Sarkozy, was convicted of corruption. Now, while Nicholas was convicted of corruption, this is something that is absolutely historic. Now, when we look at presidents, sometimes we look at presidents and think they are possibly above the law. We look at presidents and we never think that they could possibly spend time in jail. And this case is historic because this is a modern day French president who has now been convicted of corruption. Now, many people said that Paris was in shock when the sentence actually came. Now, the courts ruled that President Sarkozy was corrupt, that he was dealing with corruption. And we'll talk about the case later, but this is something that is historic. This is something that many people did not see coming. And this even goes beyond France, because a lot of times when we look at modern day presidents of developed nations, many people believe that modern day presidents cannot be arrested. I've had conversations with many people who believe that modern day presidents are above the law. Now, with this corruption case, with President Sarkozy being arrested, being president does come with perks. They did suspend 2 years of his 3-year sentence. And while we do know that he is going to appeal, a judge has stated that he can spend the 1-year sentence, not necessarily in jail, but at home with an ankle monitor. Now, looking at this case, we see that former president of France, President Sarkozy, was being investigated for several things. Since he left office, there has been several cases against him. And even though he was found guilty of this case, we do know there are other pending cases against him as well. Now, with this case, so President Sarkozy tried to obtain information with senior magistrates in an investigation about his campaign finances. Investigators were looking into campaign finances, how he spent his money, and several things looking at campaign finances. And with that, they had a wiretap. And while they were looking, again, investigators were looking into campaign finances, they saw that President Sarkozy was trying to get information that investigators had in order to try and stay ahead of the investigators. Now, with him and his magistrate and with his lawyers, they went and they tried to offer positions of power to people in order to gain information. And this is a corruption case that was actually just ended, and that President Sarkozy actually was found guilty of. So guys, what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Like I said, this is a historic ruling. Many people did not believe that he was going to be found guilty. Now, before we go into more information about the case, I really want to know what you guys think. Leave your comments in the comment section below, because as we see, many people in modern times really do feel as though presidents are above the law. And many people think that presidents cannot be arrested, presidents may not be found guilty. And while presidents, we can now see, will be found guilty in modern times, they may not necessarily do jail time, as we are seeing with former French President Nicolas Sarkozy. Now, with this case, we see that his 3-year prison sentence, because they did try to get him in jail for 3 years. And while that did not work, they have suspended 2 years of his sentence, and he will be spending 1 year on house arrest. So essentially, he'll have an ankle monitor, and he'll be able to spend 1 year of his prison sentence at home and not in a jail, which many people did assume if the case was going to happen and if he was going to be found guilty, that there was no way that a former president would probably sit in jail. Now, this trial actually began a year ago. Like I said, President Sarkozy has been dealing with several investigations. So this is not the only investigation that has been against the former French president. The former French president has dealt with other issues, and this corruption case actually stemmed from an investigation about his campaign finances. Now, they were investigating President Sarkozy because of dealings with the campaign finances, and they did think that something fishy was going on. And because of this, they had a wiretap, and they were able to find out this information in order to find him guilty of this case. So Evelina says, presidents are not above the law and should be held accountable for their actions. And we see now that there is a turn in the way that people are viewing how presidents are able to deal with things. Again, modern day presidents in developed nations tend to act like they're above the law, but we're seeing that there is a turn in the way that people are viewing modern day, and they're saying that presidents are not above the law. And we see this with this case with former French President Sarkozy. And then Evelina says, good for France. Now, again, they were investigating the former presidents of France because of issues dealing with campaign finances. And because of this, they had a wiretap on the former president's phone and between his lawyer. And they found out that the former president of France, President Sarkozy, was looking for information dealing with the campaign finances. He was trying to, I guess, stay ahead of law enforcement as they investigated him. So as they were investigating him, they tapped his phones and they saw that they were looking to bribe Albert in order to get information. So they were offering him a position in Monaco in order to get information about this campaign finance case. So Joanna says, I respect the decision. There are consequences, and being a leader of a country, there is great responsibility in protecting their government and the people of their country. And I think that's something that is very true, is that there needs to be a responsibility. And I know people looking to run for office, especially the highest office in their country, a lot of people are looking at it because they also want power. And with power, you can do a lot of things. And we do see that across the globe that there are elected officials that take that power and they do abuse that power. They'll abuse the power. They'll abuse the power that the people of their country put in their hands. Now, something that we've seen even looking back at Nixon. Nixon was impeached, but he left on his own accord, and there was no jail time scandal. A lot of times, presidents will be in situations where they'll abuse their powers, and if they're caught, they'll step away. But many people do not see modern-day presidents actually being brought to trial and being found guilty, even though there will be a lot of evidence against them. Because when you're in a position of power, you have the power to sway things your way. But we're seeing there is a change in the way that people view the presidency. There is a change in the way that people are viewing presidents and elected officials. And even though those positions do come with a lot of power, we see that people in this day and age want to see people in positions of power be held accountable. Now, many say that the courtroom was in shock when President Sarkozy was found guilty and given a prison sentence. Again, he was given 3 years, but they decided to suspend 2 of those years, and he will not be going to jail, but he will be on house arrest. Because again, being president of a country does come with benefits, so he will not be going into general population, he will not be going into jail, but he will be spending that year of the prison sentence on house arrest. So guys, what do you think? What are your thoughts about presidents being held accountable for their actions? Now, again, it started as, this whole case just started snowballing because they weren't originally tapping his phone for corruption charges. They were tapping the president's phone because they were looking into his campaign finances. They thought something fishy was going on with the money that he received and that he was doing illegal things with it. And because of that, it started snowballing, and they found, once they tapped his phone, that he was offering high positions to people in return for information about the cases against him. Now, again, bribery is something that we've seen a long time. Bribery is something that is not new in politics, whether it's politics in France or politics around the world. Politics usually comes with some sort of bribery, but we see in modern days that many people do get away with bribery in politics. If they get caught, they step away, but they don't really see prison time. But we see there is a turn in the way that people are viewing presidents. So Hala says, of course, it should be held accountable as anyone else. And then Joanna says, presidents should never be above the law. As a matter of fact, their penalty should be even more extreme than the norm. They have the care and responsibility of an entire nation in their hands. What an idiot he is. So Hala says he's an idiot. And if we look back at the case, we can't see that he's an idiot. What between him, his lawyers, the magistrate, and trying to offer these bribes and for information, we can say that it was stupid. But historically, politicians have been able to do that without any consequences. So while looking back in hindsight, we can say that's stupid, and it obviously leaves a paper trail, especially since his phones are being tapped. Presidents felt okay doing this in the past because a lot of times presidents were able to do this and get away with it because people hold presidents to a different regards. And in a sense, it was a higher regards before. And most get away with murder too. And they do. Many public officials, especially officials who are the highest officials of the land in their country, whether it's presidents or prime ministers, usually do get away with a lot of things. And unfortunately, in the past, they were able to skate by and do this. But there is a turn of tides. We are now seeing that the people, and I'm not just saying people in France, I'm not just saying people in America, I'm saying people around the globe, especially now with the flow of information on the internet, and they can easily see what's happening. Many people want to hold elected officials accountable for what they do. And not only hold them accountable so they won't be able to commit a crime again, but hold them accountable so they do receive some kind of punishment in order to, like anyone else, essentially like anyone else who would receive a punishment. I agree with Joanna. Goody Nash. So guys, let me know what you think. Like the Prince of Saudi, he's getting away with murder. And he is. He definitely has. So I want to talk about this case Tuesday night during Power Hour with you, Sohaila, actually, because as we see, many officials, now I'm not going to say elected officials because he is the crown prince. He was born into politics, that he essentially could get away with things like murder. And we do see the United States is trying to hold him accountable in some way, but it would have to be his people that hold him accountable to really get him to face the law. So they never hold office again either. And that's something that people are looking at as well. So they want to ensure that if someone is corrupt or they're found guilty, they don't all hold office again. Because we see that people, many politicians, may take a step away from politics when things are hot, but they'll try and come from a comeback. And we do know that President Sarkozy was looking for a comeback. We do know that he wanted to go back into the politics, but now because of this case, he will not be able to go into politics. Now, this case ruling may not bar him from running again, but in the court of public opinions, many people do not want to see someone who was convicted of corruption run for president again. Sohaila says, excellent about so we'll talk about it Tuesday night. And then Sohaila also says, I worked in the Middle East for more than a decade. I can surely tell you stories. And that's why I definitely want to talk about it with you Tuesday night during the Power Hour panel talk, because I know that you have a lot of experience in the Middle East and you have stories for days that you can tell us about corruption in the Middle East. So guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below, whether it's about the case itself. And actually, Joanna says, one last comment. Joanna says, I believe other countries are now looking how the United States has handled the situation on January 6th and the impeachment, and do not want to be put into that category. Respect for France. Now, I'll tell you this about what happened with this case. This case has been ongoing. And I think maybe the verdict had a lot to do with maybe what happened in the United States. Because I will say this, a lot of people are looking at the United States right now and essentially laughing at the United States. I spoke to people overseas and whatnot, and they just want to know, the question is, Mel, what the hell is going on with America right now? So I know that, but this case has been going on for a decade. But I do think maybe the guilty verdict, there could be some influence from the states, but one can only assume. So guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below, whether it's about the actual conviction of former President Nicolas Sarkozy, the former president of France, and his actual conviction. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, or whether it has to do with presidents being held accountable in general, because we do see that people want their elected officials held accountable now. They want to see them held accountable for illegal things they do, and they want to see them sentenced, like we see with the French president. So guys, let me know whether you are watching this live or whether you're watching this later on. Go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you think. So Hayla says, shit, they have been laughing at us for decades, LOL. I'm not going to lie, I have been speaking to people across the globe and they have been laughing at us for a while, but I think this past year has definitely been something that's been different. And then Joanna says it had a lot to do with it. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you like this show, you want to check out my other show as well. And that is on Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire. And you can watch that show right now. You can stream the entire first season of The Mel Show. It's not about current events like this show, but it's about motivating, educating, and empowering people to be their best self. So go ahead and check that show out as well. And you can watch it on your TV, on Roku TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire, all on the Easy Way Network. So go ahead and check that out. And I want to say thank you to each and every single one of you guys for tuning in and writing in as well. Listen, guys, your opinion matters. You may agree with me. You may not agree with me. But at the end of the day, your opinion matters. And we need to continue to have these very important conversations, whether we agree or whether we do not agree. So please continue to write in. Let me know what your opinions are, because your opinion matters. I'll bring you the cases. I'll bring you the facts. I will bring you the current events, but I do want to hear what you guys think, and I want to hear your opinion, and I want us to be able to have that conversation again, whether we agree or not. So guys, let me know. And then so Hannah says, great show. Thank you. Thank you. And then she also says, definitely. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see everyone tomorrow morning, bright and early. Have a great day, guys.